Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope your day is starting off just great. Let me introduce the video here with this beautiful picture in the background. This was taken somewhere in Quebec, I'm not sure where, but it was posted on the I Choose Canada site by Dave. He was driving along in his car and he said he just had to pull over and take this picture and marvel at how beautiful our country is. In this video, I want to quickly update you on some of the what I would call deals or arrangements that our government's made with some foreign governments. And I'm going to do that because when we do things in Canada, or when our government does it, when Mark Carney does something, he doesn't just bombastically tweet about it or post on social media and make ridiculous claims like Canada's the hottest country in the world. That's not his style. In contrast to the United States, led by a bombastic fool who spews ridiculous nonsense at a moment's notice, depending on how he's feeling, constantly claiming the most ridiculous things. There's been 10, 12, 14, 17 trillion dollars has arrived in the United States. The United States is the hottest country in the world. I've stopped 27 wars. I exaggerated a little bit to make my point here, but that's their style. So let me just contrast what's going on in the two countries. I want to ask you a question at the end of the video, but let me just give you some highlights here first. Reported on Reuters here on Yahoo Finance, India and Canada agree to long-term partnership in critical minerals and clean energy. This comes on the heels of negotiations and discussions that our Prime Minister has had with Indian officials. And this is a release from New Delhi. This is not the Canadian government making a release. This is from India. India and Canada have agreed to boost long-term supply chain relationships in critical minerals and clean energy, as well as expand investment opportunities in aerospace. Reported here by the Canadian press, Carney wraps United Arab Emirates visit with pledge of $70 billion to be invested in Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Ottawa is working on a $1 billion project aimed at expanding critical minerals processing capacity in Canada while securing the equivalent of $70 billion in investment from the United Arab Emirates. And reported here in the United States on CNN recently, Trump's trade war is pushing Canada closer to China. And one of the main ways that we are being pushed closer together is in the energy trade. China is actively pivoting away from the United States to Canada on oil imports. And I've showed this graph before. It illustrates the trends. It's entitled China Pivots to Canada from US for Oil. The white line there is Chinese imports of Canadian oil, which are virtually zero, until 2025 when the Trans Mountain Pipeline was completed, the pipeline that the Liberal government built itself. Now, the oil exports from that pipeline, the new contracts, have been gobbled up by China. And I'll point out that the increased imports from Canada are not because demand has increased in China, it's because they've actively pivoted away from the United States. US imports are dropping, the blue line is dropping, whereas Canadian imports are increasing. And that trend is continuing. I could talk about many more examples, like the cooperation with the EU, the almost $1 trillion agreement on defense spending, which Canada is now a part of with the EU, or the cooperation with Australia on defense spending with their radar detection technology, or the discussions that are happening with Sweden right now, potentially having Canada pivot away from the F-35s to purchase the Gripens, which could be built in Canada. All of those things are a result of our Prime Minister's efforts to engage other world leaders to try and specifically target trade issues, to talk about increasing our trade possibilities and our connections, increase our supply chain options, basically to work with friends to try and cooperate and increase trade with everyone other than the United States. And this is, of course, in reaction to the United States basically declaring war on us economically. And the weapon that they used for this economic attack was to declare that Canada was a threat to the United States because of the free flow of drugs, I'm in quotations, coming from Canada to the United States. And therefore, we posed a threat to them. And so they launched on a policy where they would tax their own citizens for imports from our country. Now, of course, the reason, the drug talk, it's all nonsense. And Canada is not alone in this. The United States has declared economic war on the whole world. But it's the stupidest war ever declared because what they're doing is punishing their own citizens with higher costs by charging a tax on everything that Americans import from anywhere in the world. And the United States was the biggest importing country in the world. It's the largest economy. They have the most affluent population that likes to buy a lot of things. So they were buying a lot of things from all over the world. And now Donald Trump has decided that, well, I'm going to tax all those things when they cross the border. It's an import tax, but I'll lie to my citizens and tell them that I'm doing this because all the other countries in the world are nasty and terrible, and we need to get back at them, and we need to fight against them by making them pay. But what's actually happening is Americans are paying more for everything. So what's the focus in the United States recently? What's in the news there right now? Well, if you just read the tweets and the bombastic buffoonery that spews out of Donald Trump's mouth, you would believe, initially, what was it? We're going to do 90 deals in 90 days. We're going to hit all these countries and make them pay with these tariffs, and they're going to be lining up to make deals with us. We'll do 90 deals in 90 days. But then 90 days later, when all they had to show for it was something written on a piece of paper from the UK, well done, UK, the laughingstock of the world, who actually signed something with the United States. Luckily, it was just a memorandum to discuss further, maybe lowering the tariffs that the U.S. imposed in the first place. Victory! What a fantastic deal we've made. Then it slowly morphed into, well, we don't need deals. We're going to send letters to everyone. We'll send letters letting them know the tariffs they'll have to pay. And those will be the deals. Right? So they sent letters to everyone, which basically outlined how much tax their own citizens would pay. That was a big victory again. Look at the president. He's making all these deals. He's mailed out 85 deals. Those 85 deals specifically state how much taxes our citizens will pay. And now it's morphed into whenever there's a bit of an agreement or a taco, when Donald Trump chickens out from some of the shit that he's piled up on his desk, when he lowers some of the tariffs that he's imposed, the taxes on his own citizens, when he realizes that, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, I'll think about lowering some of the taxes, then that's a victory. That's a trade deal. That's a trade. And the recent trade deals he's made are these. This absolute economic illiterate just recently made a trade deal. Trump cuts tariffs on beef, coffee, and other foods as inflation concerns mount in the United States. As Americans were feeling the pressure of higher prices, my gosh, why did the prices go up? Do you think coffee prices maybe went up because we were charging our companies in the United States a 50% tax on imports from Brazil? Do you think that maybe had something to do with coffee prices going up? What about bananas? Banana prices have skyrocketed. Why did that happen? Oh, we don't grow bananas in the United States? We have tariffs, taxes on the imports of bananas from other places? Is that why they're up? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do a trade deal and we'll lower some of those tariffs so that we'll lower costs for Americans. But we'll lie to them. We'll tell them that, well, we don't know why the costs went up, but this is a huge trade deal. Look, we're bringing costs down. We're making life more affordable for you. These are his trade deals. But with that backdrop, you have to understand that the U.S. administration and Donald Trump is still pursuing this policy and making these statements and claiming victory. They're the hottest country in the world and they have the best economy in the universe. I guess if there were aliens that were identified on another planet, the U.S. economy would be better than theirs. That's what he would claim. You have to understand that there are a sufficient amount of stupid people in the United States that gobble this up and believe this man and support him. Because unfortunately, the United States has a high percentage of people that are morons that can be convinced by this type of ridiculous rhetoric. Okay, now let's put that aside now, and you can tell that I'm being straightforward, no BS in this video. I'm just calling it like it is. That's how it is. You can try and sugarcoat it as much as you want, and I'm sick and tired of the mainstream media trying to justify or Trump-splain things to us by trying to carefully word and explain maybe he's got an ulterior plan and perhaps he's worried about the trade deficit and perhaps he's worried about coming up with things to try and backfill and give us reasons, logical reasons why he's a moron. this is what we get in the mainstream media. And we are all swimming in this sea of bullshit, reading these things as the mainstream media tries desperately to maintain themselves as impartial. So they talk about some of the most idiotic, stupid things that he does. And they talk about it like it's something worth discussing. Maybe he's right. Maybe he was right to charge a tax on the import of bananas. He had a plan there. I think he wanted the price of bananas to go up so that banana splits would cost more. And if banana splits cost more, then Americans would consume less ice cream. So he's really worried about Americans' health. I think that it was that Robert Kennedy Jr. guy that convinced him that Americans' health was really important. So he taxed bananas. Or some ridiculous bullshit that they talk about to try and explain why this buffoon actually is doing things that make sense. But all right, that was a little bit of a rant. I realize that. But let me speak to Canadians now, okay? In answer to the question, do you approve or disapprove of the way the following individuals are handling their jobs? Donald Trump, the President of the United States, and the results sorted by their political affiliations. 98% of Liberals, 97% of NDP, 100% of Green, and 94% of Bloc supporters, they disapprove of the way that Donald Trump is handling his job. But look at the Conservative supporters. What an anomaly in our country. 50% of people that voted Conservative in Canada, they approve of the way Donald Trump is handling his job. They think he's doing a good job. 50% of people that voted Conservative. Now, I'm not going to spend any time in this video talking about those 50%. How the hell would you think that Donald Trump is doing a good job? Economically in his own country or in his threats and rhetoric towards our country? I have no idea how those 50%, that group, 50% of people that voted Conservative, could believe that he's doing a good job. Let's just put them aside. Let me speak to the other 50%. The other 50% of Conservative voters that said they don't approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. And I would assume, and I think I'm correct with this, that the 50% of people that voted Conservative that don't believe Donald Trump is doing a good job are people that feel that economics and the economy are important, and they realize that his policies are really bad. Tariff policies, restrictive taxation, all of that stuff. I would characterize these people as progressive conservatives that would call themselves fiscally responsible. I would assume that's the 50% of people that voted Conservatives that don't think Donald Trump is doing a good job. So my question to you is, why are you in a club where 50% of the members of that club are nuts? Why are you still voting Conservative? If 50% of your party, the people that vote for your party, think Donald Trump is doing a good job, that believe that his policies, economic policies, are good, that believe he's doing a good job in how he's handling relationships with Canada. 50% of Conservative voters believe that. So the other 50%, why are you still voting Conservative? Why are you in a party? Why do you want to be part of a party or part of a club that is the case? Don't you realize that your leadership, the leadership of that party, is going to have to cater to that 50% that are nuts, that think that Donald Trump is doing a good job? The only way a leader of that amalgamation, that party that you have now, the only way a leader will keep his leadership, the only way the grassroots of the party will support your leader is if that leader caters to that 50%. So if you're the other 50%, if you're the progressive 50%, the 50% that can critically think, the 50% that can see what's going on in the world, the 50% that understands a little bit about economics and what tariffs do and what taxes do and what stimulus spending does and what interest rates do when they go up and down. If you understand that stuff and you consider yourself a fiscally responsible conservative, what the hell are you doing still in a party with these other 50% lunatics? If you are a person that believes Donald Trump is doing a good job, then I don't believe that there's any way that you can be convinced. There's no penetrating your mind That's just those 50%, that's who they are. The Canadians that really need to decide how can you help our country the most are the 50% of people that voted conservative that don't think Donald Trump is doing a good job. And if you are part of that 50%, do you think Mark Carney is doing a good job expanding our trade relationships with every country he can on earth, rekindling our relationship with China and India, going to the Arab Emirates, making deals with Europe, making deals with Asian countries, Japan, Australia? Do you think that's a fiscally prudent thing to do? I bet you do. So really, in the future here, whether it's 3 months from now or 6 months from now or a year or two from now, we will have another election. And you're the 50% that needs to decide how you should vote to help our country. And if you choose to continue with blinders, to stay in the club where 50% of your members are nuts, then I think you're making a big mistake. And if there's any people that are still watching this video that maybe are in that 50%, the 50% of conservatives that don't think Donald Trump is doing a good job, the 50% of conservatives that consider yourself progressive conservatives, I'm really interested in hearing your comments in the comment section. What you think in answer to my question. What the hell are you still doing in that club? And I'm interested in hearing everyone else's opinion in the comment section. Let's get a good comment section going today. I'll read all your comments. I'm sure they will be very interesting. Some of you have very good insights, and maybe you can propose things that I haven't thought about, or your own perspective on the question. Thanks for watching my video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to keep the channel numbers keep growing. And if you want to support my work on a monthly basis, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button below. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Share your beautiful pictures of our country in the I Choose Canada group. I'll leave the link for that in the video description as well. And I will catch you all on the next one.